Alright guys, welcome back. In this video, we are going to learn how to store our scrapped data inside a MySQL database. Now before watching this video, make sure that you have watched the previous two videos in which we cover how to store data inside an SQLite database, because a lot of concepts that I teach in those videos are going to be used in this video too. And I don't want to go over those same concepts again in this video. Now, obviously, the first thing you need to do after you have seen the SQLite videos is install MySQL on our computer. So you can go to this link if you are on the Windows platform to install MySQL. But if you're using Linux, you can check this link out to install and learn how to use MySQL. I'm only going to be covering the Windows part of installation because the Linux installation is pretty easy and pretty self-explanatory. Now you can just click on this link to start the installation, and I'm going to go through this installation pretty quickly because it's simple. While installing, make sure that you choose the developer's default option because we want everything installed on a computer, including connectors, routers, servers, and MySQL Bench software, which is basically a GUI software to connect and handle various databases and connections. Also, when you are asked to choose the root password, you can choose whatever you want, but make sure you remember the root password. It's really important that you make sure that you remember the root password because we are going to be using the same password everywhere. And if you forget this password, it's going to be really difficult to reset it. So I'll just make a suggestion that you write it down somewhere so that in future when you don't remember the root password, you can actually check it out and then use the root password again. And after that, when everything is installed, we are going to launch the MySQL Workbench, which is going to somewhat look like this. Now, for some reason, if you are not able to find the MySQL Workbench, you can go to the MySQL folder inside your program files, or you can just go to search and maybe search for MySQL, and most probably the first option will be of MySQL Workbench. Now, we'll come back to this MySQL Workbench because we are going to be creating our database and making a new connection using this GUI MySQL software. But before that, we need to install one more thing inside our Python project. So inside our Python project, that is the PyCharm project, we'll go to file and we need to install a new library or a new package. And if you're not using PyCharm, you can just pip install this library. I'll just tell you what the name of this library is in a sec. So I just want you to search for MySQL and then connector-python. So if you're pip installing it, you can just check out this link, or you can just write pip install MySQL connector Python. And you can just click on install package and this will install it on your computer and inside your Python. And we need this MySQL connector to connect our Python code to the SQL database. So that's why it's pretty important. I've already installed it, so I'm not going to install it again. As you can see, it's already installed over here. Now, after installing it, we need to create a database. So we are going to go back to our Workbench and create a new connection over here. Creating a new connection is really easy. You just click on this plus icon over here and you can just give it a connection name. I'm just going to call it build with Python. You can call it whatever you want. And then we are just going to click on OK. After that, we need to open up this connection. So we can just double click on it. And now it will ask for the password. So I've put in the password as 1 in digit and hello world. You have to put in the password that you put in during the installation purpose. If you remember, I asked you to make sure that you remember that password and kind of store it somewhere. So my password is 1 hello world. You have to put in the password over here that you put in while installing MySQL. And after you put that in, you can just click on OK, and this will open up this GUI where you can manipulate the database, create new database, and do all kind of cool stuff. So the first thing we need to do is go to the schemas option over here. We just need to go to the schemas option, and schema is basically kind of a pattern or a place where we create a database and tables, and we can look at it, we can manipulate it, all kind of that stuff. So now we just need to create a new database. So we can just click on create schema. That kind of stands for create database if you want to be loose about it. And we're just going to call it my database as my quotes. So we're just going to put that. We can going to click on apply, and then we're going to click on apply again. And if we click on finish, you'll be able to see that a new database has been created over here with tables, views, and stored procedures, etc. But we are only interested in this one thing known as tables. After we have created our database, now we can go back to our Python project and add that stuff in our pipeline. Over here, you can see that we are using SQLite 3 currently. Now again, if you haven't seen the SQLite 3 videos, I'll highly recommend you go back and watch them and come back again over here, because we are going to be using the same code in this video and I don't want to explain all of that stuff again. So what we are going to be doing is, instead of importing SQLite 3, we are going to be importing SQLite, MySQL, and then .connector, because we are using the connector that we just installed as a package, MySQL connector Python. After we've imported it, most of the stuff is going to remain the same except few things. For example, as you can see over here, it's showing us an error. So we'll just remove this line from here and we're just going to write MySQL.connector.connect, and then it's going to require a couple of parameters. More specifically, it will need 4 parameters. The first parameter is known as the host, which in our case is localhost because we are just hosting it on our computer. The second parameter, make sure you add a comma over here, otherwise it's going to show you an error. The second parameter is the user, and in our case the user is the root, and you can check this data again by going to the home button over here, and you can see that the user is root. So we're just going to put in the user as root, and after that we're going to put in the password using the parameter as passwd. That stands for password, and in my case the password is one hello world, but you put in the password that you selected during the installation of MySQL. And if you don't remember the password, you'll just have to reinstall everything. I know it sucks, but you have to. So again, we have to put in the comma over here, and then at the last parameter we are going to write the name of the database. So we're just going to put in the parameter of database, and then we are going to put in the name that we put in our database, that is MySQL. Inside MySQL, we have put in the name as my quotes. You can obviously create a new database just like I showed you guys, but we are just going to go with my quotes. So I'm going to be writing this inside our code, and let's just call it my quotes. Now I just want to do a couple of more changes to our code, and the first change is that I want to add one more execute line over here. So I'm just going to copy this, and before creating the table, we need to make sure that our table already does not exist, and if our table already exists, I just want to drop it or delete it. So because we are going to be running this program again and again, so we want to make sure that there is no error of that this table already exists. And if you already know a little bit of SQL, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to write a statement over here which says drop table if exists, and then I'm just going to write the name of the table, which in our case is quotes underscore TB, and then I'm just going to put in triple quotes and close this with parentheses. And now one last change that I want to do is that instead of question marks, which is a standard in SQLite 3, instead of that in MySQL we use %s. So I'm just going to replace these 3 question mark with %s, and we should be ready to go. So let me just format all of this code properly, and if you're using PyCharm, you can just press Ctrl-Alt-L, and this will automatically make sure that your code looks beautiful. Alright, so this looks pretty good. Now what we can do is we can open up our terminal and run our crawler. Now you already know how to run the crawler. We just need to go inside a project folder, and we can just write Scrapy crawl, and the name of a crawler is quotes, and press enter, and hopefully everything will go fine and we'll be able to store data inside a database. So let's just wait for it to happen. Alright, so our data has been crawled, and now if we go back inside a database and have a look at this my quotes table, let's open it up. Let's open this table up. All right, let me just remove all of this stuff from here. Let me just close this connection, and let me just open this connection again, and the password is one hello world. So let me just open this up again, and now if you look inside our my quotes database and we open up tables, you can see that a table of quotes underscore TB is over here. Now I just want to look what is inside this table, so I can just right click over here and click on table inspector, and you'll be able to see if you go inside columns that there is 3 columns of author, tag, and title, which we have given in the last lines of our pipeline over here. You can see title, author, and tag. Now if you want to look more further inside our database and actually find out the values that are inside this database, we can just right click over here and we can go to select rows, limit 1000, and we're just going to just click on it, and as you can see over here we have all the quotes with the authors and tags. So guys, this is pretty much it for this video. This was a pretty simple video, I think, and the most difficult part of this video is actually installing MySQL, because all of the code of this video is we have taken from the previous 2 videos, and if you have watched previous 2 videos, this was a piece of cake. Anyways guys, in the next video we are going to be learning how to store the scrap data inside a MongoDB database. I know a lot of you guys want it, so we are going to be covering that in the next video. So I'll see you over there.